What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. I'm going to focus today's video solely on loose graded figures, loose graded vintage Star Wars figures, mostly US production, but I've got a few kind of international items. I've even got one that's not graded at all, but I wanted to talk about it. So let's dig right in. I think that the basic premise of this video is that based on the sales prices that I've seen over the last week for all of these auctions, the prices, I don't know when we're going to see a slowdown in the prices for vintage Star Wars stuff. It's mind-blowing to me, some of the prices that I'm seeing, and I'm sure that you're seeing. And it's just, there's been no let up in the relentless push upwards for vintage Star Wars figures. And the loose graded in particular, I don't know if it's just that there is a larger buyer pool for those because, you know, maybe some buyers are priced out of mint on card items. I certainly think that's the case with a lot of the Boba Fett prices we're going to look at here. But it's just, I cannot believe some of these prices. They're just crazy. Let's talk about the first one here, which is a really desirable one. This is a double telescoping Luke. And so you can see there, it's got that double telescoping Saber with the inner filament that pulls out. These were the very, very earliest of the production telescoping Sabers. So a very, very desirable figure. This was graded AFA 80, and you can see a little bit of paint overspray there on the leg. That's probably one of the drivers for it. It looked pretty white, maybe just a faint yellowing going on there, but look how clean that the paint is on the face. I mean, just a beautiful figure. There's the CIB that says the telescoping Saber. This was just graded December of 2021. And both of my telescoping Sabers have that same CIB. But anyway, you know, I think it's fun to kind of look at these versus maybe what I paid for mine. And I mean, this is a good solid 60%, 60 to 70% higher than what I paid for mine just, you know, about 2 years ago, so or less. And it's just crazy what the prices have done. We even documented recently an AFA 85, so an 85 grade that sold, I don't remember the exact number, it was around 3,000 or slightly above that, but now we've got an AFA 80 that sold at 2,500, so that's a big, that's a big number, but it is a beauty. I mean, that was a beautiful example of the telescoping Luke. Here was a really interesting one. So this was a group lot of all very, very high-grade figures, all early character releases. So we've got the first 12 figures as well as Boba Fett, and they were graded 85 and 90. Let's take a look at the list. So we got a double telescoping Luke AFA 85 plus. That is insane. A U90 grade no COO Vader, an AFA 90 Chewbacca, AFA 80 Hong Kong Leia. We've got a molded legs AFA 85 Han Solo, an R2-D2 AFA 85, Sand People 85, C3PO 85, Obi-Wan white hair 85. I mean, these are just incredibly high-grade figures. Jawa Dark Brown Stitch AFA 85, Stormtrooper 85, Death Squad Commander 85, and then the bonus was a Boba Fett. Taiwan graded AFA 85, but the blaster was the incorrect blaster. So the Taiwan Black version 5 blaster was not included. And to the seller's credit, he did mention that. And we're gonna talk more about that here in a little while here. So be patient. But this is a beautiful lot of you know, the first 12 plus Boba, and that one sold for $6,589 on 9 bids plus $50 shipping. So for those of you that collect these really high grade, you know, early production figures, including, I mean, this is a double telescoping Luke. Admittedly, he's got the old case there. You can see where the inner filament is not kind of encased in a recessed protective case for the filament, but whatever. I mean, this is an awesome set. And I've always considered the first 12 in, you know, the first 12 figures in very high grade to be around $5,000. But you have to count for the extra Boba Fett, and you also have to count for the fact that this is a double telescoping Luke. So I feel like that's a pretty good number. 6589 is a pretty good number, in my opinion, for a nice set there. So hopefully the buyer was able to get those, but congratulations on that one. This was another one that was just mind-blowing on price. Good Lord. This was a Takara Stormtrooper. So admittedly, this is a very difficult to find Japanese production Takara Stormtrooper. It's a slightly different mold to the figure, and the weapon is also different. So it's a very, very desirable figure. But this one was AFA 85. You can see the case there, archival case. You can see there where it says JP for Japan. So it was produced in Japan by the Takara factory, Takara company. It was listed for $3,500, and it sold for best offer accepted of $2,600. So $2,600 for a AFA 85 Takara Stormtrooper. And the Takara factory was known to have some slight variations to the mold for the figures for the Stormtrooper, for Vader, as well as C-3PO. Those are the three big, I'm just going on memory, but those are the three big ones within the Takara production run for the 3 3/4 inch figures that are very desirable just because they have slightly different features to the face and things like that. So, but that is a big number for an AFA 85 Takara Stormtrooper. This is another one that just was crazy to see sell. This was a toe dent version of a blue snaggletooth. Admittedly, it's an AFA 85 with a brand new case. Beautiful example, beautiful. And that one sold for $2,000. $2,000 free shipping. I mean, not long ago, you could have had one of these for half that price, but it's just the prices have really accelerated. Especially, I've noticed that the price acceleration is particularly noticeable on the early figures, like Boba Fett, obviously, Blue Snaggletooth, and any of the first 12 figures that are very, very high grade, like this, 85 and above, 85 plus, especially 90s. The price acceleration for those has just gone stratospheric. It's just, I don't know if there's just a new money more. I mean, we've talked about this in the past. I know we're beating a dead horse here, but there has to be some new money coming in that are looking to add some of these early figures and of just driving the prices way up. But that is in my opinion, that's a high watermark for an AFA 85. I mean, I've seen higher price points on the blue snags for bagged or for higher grade, like 85 plus and 90s. But for just an AF I mean, it's a beautiful item again. But for an AFA 85 to hit $2,000 for the easier to find toe dent version of Snaggletooth, that is just mind blowing to me. Another one here was the dark gray beard version of Obi-Wan in an AFA 85 grade, standard Hong Kong figure, but a beautiful example there. It makes you wonder though. I mean, how did that hit an 85 with that very noticeable paint rub on the hand? But that's a different story. But that one still sold for $375 plus shipping. So that's not long ago. This was probably what, $200 and under, but a big number there for the dark gray Obi-Wan. All right, now we're going to get into some Boba Fetts, and my goodness, every time I think that the Boba Fett prices are kind of at a peak, we get more data that surprises me. This was an AFA 80, so not even particularly crazy in terms of the grade. That one sold for $535. This is that SW seller, which a lot of his auctions tend to go above market, but there's more that I'm going to show you here in a second that are just as crazy as this. So this was actually the least expensive of all the options. But anyway, for an AFA 80 Boba Fett, Hong Kong, just a standard Hong Kong. It's not like it's the light green chest or anything like that. That one sold for $535. I mean, what is going on? I mean, I was thinking like for that it would be $250, less than half that final price. Now here's another one. I've got a bone to pick with the grading companies. I'm sorry, but this is, if you got a Hong Kong figure, you can't grade it with the version 5 blaster. The version 5 blaster was made in Taiwan. Now correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe my rant will be for naught and I'm an idiot, but the version 5 blaster for the Imperial blaster is a black blaster that goes with it was made in the Taiwan factory, and CAS graded this AFA 80, or excuse me, CAS 80, brown belt, dark green chest. It's a Hong Kong. It's a 2-line Hong Kong figure, and they allowed it with the version 5 blaster. I'm sorry, you can't be doing that. And this is not to pick just on CAS, because AFA does it too, and I'm going to show you one. Or we just looked at one that was a Taiwan, that was an AFA graded Taiwan Boba Fett, but it had the wrong blaster. So that one that was in the AFA, in this lot here that sold, this Boba Fett had the wrong blaster. The Boba Fett, that Boba Fett needed this one. It needed this blaster. So both companies are doing it, and I even own an AFA Hong Kong Fett that was mislabeled a Taiwan. So, and that's the most egregious because you didn't even get the factory or the country of origin right. But in my opinion, I think that both grading companies here in the U.S., they have got to do something regarding doing better research using imperial gunnery or whatever resource you need to use. But there is no excuse for, and this was graded in 2021 too. So this is not like this is some old grade, right? Where, a lot of this information may be fairly new to collectors. This was just graded last year. So CAS has no excuse on this one to be grading a Hong Kong figure with a Taiwan version 5 blaster. Now, my question to you guys watching the video and comment below, where, potentially maybe some of the factories overseas, they had mixed accessories. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe you guys do. Maybe there are mint on card examples where you have the Hong Kong Fett packed in with the version 5 Taiwan blaster. I don't know. I don't know the answer. But in my opinion, for loose graded, it should be matched. It should be matched up perfectly. If you got a Hong Kong figure, then it needs to be a Hong Kong Cater or Smile accessory, or Unitoys. But if you got a Taiwan Boba Fett, then it needs to be the Taiwan blaster for loose graded. That's just my opinion. But again, I'm not an expert with regard to these accessories and whether some of them were mixed and matched between different factories. That's certainly possible because a lot of the U.S. Kenner cards have Spanish PBP figures inside. So there's the Made in Mexico figures for the U.S. market. So there's all kinds of potential there. I think that this could be possible. But I just think that for me, if the grading companies want me to take them a little bit more seriously in terms of their knowledge, I just think that you should reject this. If someone submits this, you should send it back and say, send us the correct blaster, and then we'll grade it for you. But that's just my personal opinion. All right, so here's a U-85 Taiwan. This one went for even more money. This went for $575. So this was an uncirculated 85, as you can see there. And this one's got the correct, I assume, it's hard to tell, but it looks like the correct Taiwan version 5 blaster. And since it's an uncirculated, it means it came off of a sealed, beat up card. So this is, should be correct. But a U-85, obviously the uncirculated loose grade, it doesn't happen anymore. So this is an older case, obviously, too. But still, that sold for $575. Big numbers. So the other thing I want to talk about is this seller, Toy Scout 1. And he had a number of loose graded that we're going to go through now. But I have never bought from this seller before. He always, or she, always has a lot of really nice graded, both mint on card as well as loose. Now, I have heard from collectors that I respect within the Facebook community that they have said that you should not buy from this seller. I don't, they just said that there's a lot of shenanigans that goes on with this seller and that he has multiple accounts and, accounts get banned and then he comes back with new stuff. He does have some negative feedback on his profile, even this one. So I would be curious, for those of you watching this, have you ever bought from Toy Scout? He has had several different accounts, but collectors that are seasoned collectors with very big boy collections have said that they will not buy from him or her. I don't know who it is. It's not somebody I know, but it's something I've heard. Okay, so just be cautious if you have not bought from this seller. Just be cautious because I've never bought from this person before. Although several of these items that he listed this weekend were really nice and very tempting. But this was a cool custom. This was a 4-piece early bird action figure set. So loose graded Luke with telescoping saber, a Leia, Chewbacca, R2-D2. Now, I've talked about this in other videos. I don't like the single label for multiple figures. You give it an 87.2. How is that possible when you got 4 different figures you're grading? Are you taking the average of all 4? To me, you need to have separate labels. I think CAS needs to work on that. And UKG, they can look to UKG. UKG does that. They have multiple labels within the same custom case. I think CAS needs to have multiple labels for when you have these kind of customs like this with multiple figures inside. But that's a really nice item. It's a beautiful beautiful set. That one sold for $2,716, which, if you think about it, for a Luke telescoping Saber, that alone, we saw one just sell that was AFA 80 that sold for $2,500. Well, this one you get a nice cool custom with all 4 figures inside for $2,700. So that's a pretty good deal if you don't mind having a custom case like that. But I thought that was really nice. The same seller also had this one, a CAS 85 Plus Leia, and it didn't show the label as to which figure it was. This sheet, you know, the statement of archival doesn't have the COO on there. It just has the year and manufacturer. I wish they would put that on there as to what, because he didn't show the label, so you can't tell. It looks like it says Hong Kong. Yeah, it's Hong Kong. So this is the Hong Kong Leia CAS 85 Plus. That one sold for $311. That's, you know, kind of in line with market. I feel like that's a pretty decent deal. I mean, we've seen them go up for a lot higher than that, so that's a pretty good price. There's a Death Star droid, CAS 80, and I will say this: my AFA 85 Death Star droid, it didn't look nearly as nice as this one. This one actually looks better than my AFA 85, and this was only a CAS 80, and that one sold for $78. But the paint on that, on the eyes, looked a lot better than mine. That was AFA 85. So I probably should have bought that. I wish I had bought that now. $78 is a good deal plus shipping. And then this seller also had a 1978 Hong Kong R5D4 that was 80 plus grade. That looks about right. It's got a little bit of yellowing there on the sticker. That's probably about right for the grade. That one sold for $76. That was a good deal. So, you know, again, I'd like to know if any of y'all bought any of this stuff from Toy Scout. I'd just be curious as to know how he packs. If you had any issues, did he actually ship it? You know, did he cancel? You know, a lot of these sellers, if they don't get the price they like at an auction, they'll cancel the order and then relist it without you, even though you paid. So I've seen that happen a lot. I'm not saying that this seller did that because I've never dealt with a seller, but I do see that a lot. I complain a lot from certain sellers on eBay. If they don't get the price they like in an auction, then they cancel it and say that the buyer wanted to cancel, even though you didn't. So it's happened to me before too, to be honest with you. But anyway, I thought that was a good deal. 80 plus, $76 plus shipping. This one was the only one that I was a little surprised by. It was a flat blue paint 21B that was graded CAS 85 plus. That sold for $200. That's a big number. Big number. But the flat paint's a little bit harder to find. I've got the semi-metallic, I think, and I've got the Spanish, but I don't have the flat paint yet. I'd like to get that one. But $200 seems high. It seems like maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like 21B is going up in price right now. It's a cool figure, obviously. I love the kind of Art Deco 1950s, you know, speaker, you know, microphone face. It's just a cool figure. Clear chest. There's just so much to like about 21B. I love that figure. But anyway, it seems like the price on 21Bs are going up. It's, you know, there's some figures that are coming down in price or flatlining, but 21B is definitely on the upswing. General May Dean. This was a nice one. This was graded 80, CAS 85. This was a Taiwan flesh mold gray hair. I'd like to get the green hair. That one was graded, that was graded 85. That sold for $66. That was a good deal too, I thought. Here's one that didn't actually sell, and I think it's because the seller was a fake seller. So be careful out there when you're bidding. But this was a beautiful die-cast Tie Bomber, and it was started at $650. It did have yellowing on the wings and everything, but no one bid on it. And I was like, why didn't anyone bid on it? That seemed like a pretty good starting price. But then I wasn't serious about bidding on it myself. I don't have any money, but this seller, it has 6,718 next to the star, next to his name. So you think, okay, well, it's a trusted seller. Except look at the feedback. The feedback's 0% feedback. And then if you click on her name or his name, look at that, all zeros, based in the United States. So again, this seems like somebody you need to be very careful about, because there's been no recent sales. And no one bid on this. I don't know if it's because of the price. The price to me seems pretty fair for a Tie Bomber. Probably like in 75 plus condition. Very, very difficult to find. It included like a piece of the box. So I would love to know if that was a legitimate seller or not. But 0% feedback, that terrifies me. That to me probably means that it's probably a fake account. Now, all right, this I've talked about this in the past, folks, but the squid head orange cape is not a recognized variant, okay? Somebody just paid $155 for this, okay? Now, if you're a squid head collector and you like having all the different shades of cape and all that, I can understand it because it was very uniform. And I'm not bagging on the buyer for this, because on like some of the Facebook groups, these orange cape squid heads are priced around $140 to $175. But all it is a degraded brown cape. That's all it is. It's just the fading of the dark brown, of the darker tan brown into an orange color. But when it's really uniform like this, it really does look like an orange cape, like it was a legitimate variant. But there are collectors out there. Lee comes to mind. My buddy Lee Mitchell, he comes to mind. He's got a beautiful squid head collection with lots of different colors to the capes, and so I understand that. But if you're bidding on this kind of thing, just be aware that all this is a degraded brown. And let's say you send it in to get graded, the highest it would get be like a 70 or 75 because of that color fading. But again, you know, collect what you like. You can spend your money however you want to spend your money. But I'm just saying that be aware that this is not a recognized variant. I have seen some UKG graded orange cape examples, and I think that they were older cases. It was before UKG kind of realized, and you know, all the grading companies realized that it was just a degraded brown cape. So just be aware of that. But it's still sold for $155, and like I said, I have seen other sales data that supports that same price, so it's not like it was overpay. Interestingly, this is one you don't see often. There are some graded Polish bootlegs. This is one I've got in my collection. I've got three in my collection. Three? Yeah, two or three. But anyway, this is a CAS 85 silver Polish second generation bootleg. Now, this one's incorrectly labeled. This is labeled 1980s. That should be 1990s. The second generation, in my very uneducated brain, the second generation Polish stormtroopers, or second generation Polish figures in general, they were kind of like 1990 time frame. So that really should say 1990s Polish Star Wars second generation. The first generation was like 85-ish. Second gen was 1990-ish. Third gen was 1994, 1995-ish. So that's incorrectly labeled. But it's a beautiful figure. That one's still sold for $510. $510. Big number. Big number. You know, Polish figures are on the way up. And Jacob Brzezinski's second edition of the Polish bootleg Star Wars book that he put together, it looks absolutely gorgeous. It looks absolutely gorgeous. I know that Blacked Out Ewoks on YouTube, he's a buddy of mine, obviously. He and I both got a copy of that. So we're going to try to put together a live stream at some point. It's been really bad. I'm sorry that I haven't. BOE, I'm sorry that I haven't been more available. But you know, I've got like 2 weeks of travel this month. So maybe in, next month in March, we'll put together a live stream to talk more about Polish bootlegs specifically, and Jacob's book more specifically. But that is being shipped to me as I speak right now, so I'm excited about getting that, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that in a live stream. Here's another beautiful one. This was a Polish bootleg Han Solo Hoth, third gen. This is the third gen. Let's see how it's labeled. Yeah, 1990s, third generation. So this is correctly labeled. Han Solo articulated bootleg. This was graded in 2020. It was CAS 80. I've got three of the Han Solo Polish bootlegs. They're really nice. But anyway, that one sold for $152.50. That was a pretty good deal, I think. I mean, it's a third gen, so it's a little bit easier to find. You know, the Han Hoth and the AT-ST driver, third gen. Those are probably the two most common third generation Polish bootlegs to find. And they're not particularly expensive, but $152.50 is a pretty good price for a graded bootleg. Nice colors on them. And I got two more, then we'll wrap it up. But this is one that sat on the market for a while. I was really tempted to buy this. I almost did a couple times, but I just never did. It did finally sell, though. This was an AFA 85 Droid C-3PO. We documented one that sold for about $760, $780, somewhere in that ballpark. It was the exact same grade, and that was at auction. But this one was listed a little higher. It was listed at $880, but same grade, 85. So it sold for about $80 higher than the last auction. So it's not like it was a terrible overpay, and that's why I considered it. I was like, it's not terrible to go, 10% over the last auction price. But I didn't do it, but this is a beautiful figure. Nice colors to it, really good condition, updated case. But anyway, that one did sell finally. It sat for about, I mean, it sat for a while, several months. $880 plus shipping on that one, about $900 altogether. And then finally, we had this one. This picture's messed up, but the better pictures are in a second. But this is the Size From loose graded AFA 85. Size From is another one that's just continues to go up, and it's just a hard one to find. But here's the figure. Man, he is ugly. Ugly. It reminds me of a certain friend of mine. I'm not going to say who it is. He knows. He knows he looks like him. I'm just kidding. But yeah, this is an awesome figure. Awesome figure. And that one, you know, historically, that was kind of like, even last year, you could have picked this one up like $700, $750. And this one sold for $1,143 plus $15 shipping. So $1,160-ish. So that's another one that's really on the upswing over the last year is Size From. Size From and Tig From loose graded. It's like 700, used to be 600 to 700. Now it's, you know, a lot more, especially Size From. Size From's really gone up a lot. Anyway, so this is all focused on loose graded figures, but I had just some interesting sales. All of these sales were over the last 4, 5, 6 days, and I just thought that we would cover that. And I'll probably do another kind of market update video later this week with packaged Kenner items and mint on card, things like that, both graded and ungraded, just to kind of round out the vintage price runs for this week. If you like this kind of data and you're new to the channel, I try to do these once a week when I can. I've got some travel coming up, so I may not be quite as on top of the videos as I have been lately. But please consider subscribing if you're new. I try to provide as much data as I can and mix it up here and there with other content. And obviously to my existing subscribers as well as my awesome Patreon supporters, I want to say thanks. Finally, one other thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of this video. At my intro, when I had my Patreon kind of scroll at the beginning, I forgot, I had a typo in there for Darth Outlaw. Darth Outlaw has been a Patreon subscriber or supporter for the channel for a while, but for some reason I had Dath Outlaw instead of Darth Outlaw. So he did let me know, thank goodness, and so I did fix it for this video. So moving forward, I still have some videos that I've already pre-made for while I'm traveling. So there will be some that have the incorrect, your name misspelled again, but for any new videos I make, I'll promise to fix that. So I apologize for misspelling your name. And for any of you other Patreon supporters, if you happen to notice that your name is misspelled, please let me know. I think I've got everybody correct now, but please don't hesitate to let me know. But I really appreciate the Patreon support. It means a lot to the channel. So thanks so much, and I'll be back soon.